Artful Living in Ohio is presented by Sharon Weiss Galleries in Columbus's Short North and by Vision Antiques and Estate Sales and Vasari Appraisal Services. Vision and Vasari on West 5th Avenue in Columbus.
Hi, I'm Lisa Godfrey. Today we're just outside Granville, Ohio at the top-rated bed and breakfast in the country. Our hosts are Bobby and Jeff No.
Hi. So I know when you were probably driving out this way and when you were here before, we sit in the middle of the Welsh Hills, and hence the name the Welsh Hills Inn. So this land was actually settled by Welsh immigrants in the early 1800s. This house was actually built in the early 1980s. Most folks think maybe it was the 1880s because they wanted you to feel like it had been here. So are you ready to go in and take a look?
This
All
is
right,
exciting.
Let's
Let's go.
Ellie's going to accompany us.
Yay! Well, I wanted to start here in the foyer especially because the Charles Muir piece that we have here is an early piece that Jeff and I collected, and it's one of the oldest pieces in the inn. What you'll find is we have a collection that dates back from the late 1800s, which is this piece,
Okay.
and a couple others that are in that age group, up
Beautiful.
to the present day. So also lots of mixed media. We have fine art, we have outsider art, folk art, sculptures, paintings, all kinds of different pieces. So we're excited for you to sort of get a little snippet view of some of those pieces today. You mentioned the little Deacon's Bench. This again was an early piece that we found at I want to say it was not at auction, but it was at a show, I think in Worthington, Ohio. But the piece, I think, is an early Pennsylvania Dutch piece that had come over. So this has gotten lots and lots of use over the years prior to us, and then, of course, it gets lots of use here with us. You also can see the piece above. We are wonderful fans of Paul Hamilton, who lives here in Granville, Ohio. A couple other pieces that are in here. We do have a small William Hawkins piece. This is actually of the singer Marvin Gaye, so he calls it Singer Marvin, so that's kind of a fun little piece.
When you buy a piece of art, do you know where it's going to go automatically?
Never ever know where it's going to go. We just buy what we love. Buy what we love and bring it home. And I know Jeff wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Ray Kinsman Waters piece that's over here, because it has a fabulous little background too.
So Ray Kinsman Waters was a student of Alice Shilley at the Columbus Academy of Fine Art back in the early 1900s, 1920s. And we have several pieces of Ray Kinsman Waters' work, but this is the only watercolor. And Alice Shilley was his instructor. And he and Alice Shilley maintained a very strong friendship throughout his life.
So Jeff, why don't you take them into the gathering room and show them a few other pieces?
Absolutely, love to.
This room is so comfortable.
In the fall to the spring, it gets used all the time because it's a common area. We have a fire going as soon as we start getting cool weather in the fall.
So cozy.
And it pretty much continues up until springtime.
Let's start with this charming portrait of your daughter, Emily.
So this was a piece that I had commissioned Paul Hamilton to do. I had actually gone over to Paul and Amy's home, and he had two portraits up on the wall, and I had never ever seen a portrait that Paul had done before. I asked him if he was doing portraiture now, and he said, no, I've only done our kids. And I asked him if he'd be willing to do our daughter. And this was a Christmas gift to Bobby. There's a small scale Alice Shilley piece that we absolutely love. One of her many watercolors. We have always admired Alice Shilley's work. Then this is a small piece up above by Philip Jackson, who's a contemporary fine artist.
Jeff, I think this would be a really good time to tell us, how did you start collecting art?
Absolutely. When we met, we both had limited edition prints and things like that. It wasn't until we met Sharon Weiss at Antiques on Poplar one weekend, absolutely clicked with Sharon, and I met Roger, and Sharon is who really
Got you into
created
original.
the world bug that we ended
Okay.
up for the next 30 plus years with collecting
It's
original art.
addictive.
It
It's a
is.
lifestyle.
It is so addictive.
Walk us around the room and tell us the highlights of the artwork in this room.
Sure. The wooden sculpture is by CCAD professor James Mason, and we absolutely,
I adore him.
I love that piece. We have several pieces of Popeye Reed's folk art. Over by the fireplace, we have a much larger piece. That's the largest piece of Popeye Reed's
Fabulous
work that we own.
One of my favorite
The Joan
artists.
Vopes
Yes.
piece. Yeah, Joan, we fell in love with that terracotta piece. Our daughter was young at the time. The younger sister in that piece kind of reminded us of our daughter.
And this is interesting.
That is one of my many fish decoys that I have. It's an ice spearing fish decoy.
And while we're here, the horse painting, the horse racing, is that local?
I found that at Brian Roberts' gallery in Bexley. And Brian said, Jeff, the Columbus Athletic Club is thinking about this piece. And I told Brian, if they decide they don't want it, consider it sold. And we have tried and tried and have not yet found out who painted this. It could very well be a European piece.
Okay.
But
you
I love
loved it.
I love it. And that's what we do. We buy what we love. This is one of our favorite pieces by Denny Griffith, the former CCAD who since unfortunately passed away way too young.
The palette is amazing.
We've looked at it so many times, and every time I think we look at it, we see something different in it that we love.
Hey, I see something we have to talk about. Definitely.
That's George Bellows' lithograph. They call it a stone pulling of the lithographs, and some, you can have a first stone, a second stone, a third stone. It depends. This was a second stone pull, and it's called Mother and Child.
Okay, Jeff, I understand Bobby's going to take it from here and tell us about the dining room.
She is.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I wanted to sort of start in this room with mentioning again one of our favorite painters, Paul Hamilton. Okay. So we seem to have a little bit of Paul's work in every room. Our very, very first piece that we ever purchased of Paul's work is actually this small piece up here, and it did remind us a lot of Edward Hopper, and so it just sort of had that feel. But then the large piece next to it is one that we just fell in love with. One of the shows actually that they held in Newark, Ohio. So these are pieces that were done here locally. Again, I have a lot of favorite pieces, but one of my very favorite pieces is the Clyde Singer up here at the top. This is New York City. Yes, the newsstand. That was what I was trying to say, was the newsstand piece. It is a favorite of many folks who come to visit, and I hear often, now if any piece ever comes up missing, it would be that one, but don't look at me.
Yeah. And I recognize.
Do you? Yes, the Sidney Shavitz piece here. So that's just a really fun piece. He's known for doing a lot of political types of pieces, and we have
and a professor from Ohio State, right?
Yes, exactly. Okay,
I want to go over here. Something spectacular.
This is probably the most well-known and appreciated piece within our collection. This obviously is an Amina Robinson piece. Jeff and I purchased this piece, I want to say it was late 1999, early 2000. Obviously, it's a very traditional Raganon piece of Amina's, We were told that she worked on this piece over many, many years, which was common for her to do that. So she would have it hanging. I think this was like hanging in a hallway in her studio, and she would just kind of go by it and
all
add
the little
to it.
details, all the stitching, all the buttons. I love to see what she puts on her art.
Exactly. You know, I tell the story that this is actually a memory of her going to market on Saturday morning with, and I believe it was her uncle.
This is a treasure, this wall all in itself.
A lot of little pieces tucked up in here, several from CCAD artists. We have Janice Wunderlich with the sculptures. We have a couple of her pieces here, very whimsical, fun.
And I love how you mix the sculpture, your family pictures.
Oh, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we're quite eclectic with how we arrange things, but somehow I think that makes it work.
It does. It does.
And people, when they come to the inn, it also makes them feel very comfortable. Lisa, I'd love to show you some of the things down in the hallway here, and actually even in the little powder room. We never seem to limit where we're going to hang different pieces. So if we can go on in maybe into the powder room, I think Jeff wanted to talk to us a little bit about a couple of these pieces.
There are two other Paul Bourguignon pieces. I love the piece with the three women in it. And then behind me are two Ray Kinsman Waters woodcuts.
Lovely. Jeff, I see one of my favorite artists from Columbus. Around the corner, I see a Michael McEwen.
And that it is. That is probably one of our favorite nude paintings. Actually, we have two in here. That larger piece and then this small piece that's kind of gotten hidden behind the lamp.
He typically does not paint small.
No, he doesn't.
It's the first one I've seen. And he has taught a number of local artists. He's a great
He is
teacher.
An incredible teacher.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jeff, let's head on upstairs. And if we could stop for a moment and tell me about this little Alice Shilley.
We found that piece at the Art and Antique Show at the Columbus Academy. And it's by Alice Shilley. It's a study for a larger oil painting portrait.
This is so charming up here.
One of our guests, she'd get up earlier than her family who was in here. They were here for Denison's Big Red weekend. And every morning when we got up, she's out here knitting.
Oh, how spectacular.
Is by Mark Gingrich in 2003, Ohio's bicentennial year. 6 emerging artists from the Ohio Plein Air Society were commissioned to paint a historic scene from all 88 counties. This was the Red Brick Tavern that has been there forever.
Jeff, I know you have one more guest room upstairs. I would love to see it.
Absolutely. So this is the Derwent Dell.
Okay.
All of our rooms have Welsh names to them because of being the Welsh Hills Inn.
Right.
This Malcolm Barraway piece,
beautiful.
Absolutely one of our favorites. I mean,
I can see why.
The vibrant colors. Malcolm's got a very European feel to his paintings.
Did you ever think you would become this knowledgeable about artwork?
No. From when we first met Sharon, she was like the professor.
Yes.
I mean, we learned so much from Sharon over the years.
Jeff and Bobby, if you would please tell me a little bit about your media wall and some of the accolades that you have received is outstanding.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we feel pretty blessed and pretty amazed, quite honestly, because when we started this in 2010, we could have never have guessed that we would be where we are right now.
#1 in the United States.
In 2015, TripAdvisor named us #1 in the U.S. In 2017, #4 in the world. For the last 10 years, they give out an annual award that's called their Traveler's Choice Best of the Best. and we've made that list every year for 10
Congratulations. I mean,
years.
that's quite an achievement.
Yeah,
Okay, Jeff, if you would take us through the rest of
absolutely.
the bed and breakfast, I'll follow you. I've seen a lot of these carvings.
These are by a gentleman named Bill Miller. Bill works in vintage linoleum. So he finds the linoleum pieces and builds these scenes. I had these done for Bobby for Christmas. This is my dad, my mom, Bobby's dad, and Bobby's mom when they were younger. And then this diptych up here is Granville artist James Young. And this is a scene in Licking County. Bobby found this at one of Jay's openings. She said, it might fit above the windows going downstairs. There is maybe 1/4 of an inch of play. This piece is by an Ohio artist. His name's Don Noyes.
Okay.
And Don does the carving. So all 9 of these birds are counterweighted. His wife does the painting. It's kind of a Pennsylvania Dutch style. We have this self-portrait of Emerson Burkhart. One of the neat things that Burkhart did on the back of his paintings, he put these strokes on here that represents, when he would do a portrait of somebody, how many studio periods, studio times that it took
That's
to
not
do
what
that
I
painting.
thought you were going to say.
Yep, which is, I thought was really interesting.
I never had heard that story.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, I remember from my last visit you telling me about your family's collections, and I want to make sure we do not leave them out.
Absolutely. I love this room. My parents love to collect art. If you look up, there are a number of pottery pieces my dad collected. Some of them were from vacation trips we took.
I think you get your love of collecting, honestly.
I do.
You do.
I absolutely do. This is my favorite place to come when it's snowing out. To throw a fire in the fireplace.
And it's a great view of the outside. Jeff, tell us about your Mac Worthington piece.
Before we met, he said, look on my website and get some ideas of the things you like, the elements and different pieces I've done. And then we'll get together at my place. And we sat there, and Mac literally sketched it up while we were sitting there. We love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely
definitely.
love it. It's such a whimsical piece, and it has so much motion to it.
I've seen a lot of his pieces. I never really knew how he worked before. That's great you're in on the designing part. Bobby and Jeff, thank you so much for having us into your home and into your business, letting us see your artwork and teaching us about your artwork. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank
Lisa.
you.
Absolutely a pleasure. And we hope you'll come back and
Definitely.
stay with us as a guest again sometime
We
soon.
look forward to it.
We'd love
Yes.
that. We'd
Thank
love
you.
that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, dear.
So enjoyed the time.
Artful Living in Ohio is presented by Sharon Weiss Galleries in Columbus's Short North and by Vision Antiques and Estate Sales and Vasari Appraisal Services. Vision and Vasari on West 5th Avenue in Columbus.